At 9:27 inches the morning, on the 24th of March, 2015, an Airbus A320, flying from Barcelona to Düsseldorf, contacted the Marseille Air Traffic Control Center. The aircraft was operated by Germanwings, and at first, everything seemed completely normal. A few minutes later, air traffic controllers noticed something unusual. The plane was no longer maintaining its cruising altitude. Instead, it had started descending from around 38,000 feet. Controllers immediately attempted to contact the flight crew, asking them to confirm their assigned altitude. No reply came back. Over the next several minutes, multiple radio calls were made on different frequencies. French military controllers also attempted contact, along with nearby aircraft. Still, there was only silence from Flight 9525. At 9:40 a.m., radar contact disappeared. 1 minute later, the aircraft crashed into a mountain in the French Alps. Everyone on board was killed. The crash site was located in a remote mountainous area that could only be reached by helicopter. The aircraft had been destroyed on impact, leaving debris spread across the mountainside. Investigators later recovered both the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder, though both were heavily damaged. Once investigators reconstructed the recordings, they discovered that this was not an accident caused by weather or mechanical failure. The aircraft had been intentionally brought down. Earlier in the flight, shortly after reaching cruising altitude, the captain left the cockpit briefly. During that moment, the co-pilot changed the aircraft's settings and began a controlled descent. When the captain returned, he attempted to enter the cockpit again, but the door would not open. After the attacks of 2001, cockpit doors on commercial aircraft were redesigned to resist hijackings. Normally, crew members outside the cockpit could request access using a keypad system. However, pilots inside the cockpit also had the ability to fully lock the door and disable emergency entry. That is exactly what happened on Flight 9525. The co-pilot activated the locking system, preventing the captain from re-entering the cockpit while the plane continued descending toward the mountains. The cockpit voice recorder later captured sounds of the captain trying desperately to break the door open, but the reinforced cockpit door could not be forced open in time. Inside the cabin, the passengers and crew slowly realized what was happening. At 9:41 a.m., the aircraft crashed into the Alps at high speed. No one survived. The crash killed 150 people, including passengers, cabin crew, and both pilots. Among them was an entire group of students returning home from a school trip in Spain. Captain Patrick Sondenheimer was an experienced pilot and father of two. In the final minutes of the flight, he fought to regain access to the cockpit and save everyone on board. The co-pilot, meanwhile, had dreamed of becoming a pilot since childhood. He trained through Lufthansa's aviation program and eventually joined Germanwings. But behind the scenes, he had struggled with serious mental health problems for years. During his pilot training, he suffered from severe depression and underwent psychiatric treatment. Although he was eventually cleared to continue flying, his condition later returned. In the months leading up to the crash, he visited multiple doctors and received medical notes declaring him unfit for work. Investigators later discovered that he had hidden this information from the airline. Reports also showed that only days before the incident, he had searched for information related to the Airbus A320 cockpit door locking system. The tragedy raised major questions about pilot mental health checks and airline safety procedures. Following the crash, aviation authorities introduced stronger recommendations for psychological evaluations, while many airlines adopted rules requiring 2 authorized people to remain in the cockpit at all times. Germanwings was later restructured under the Eurowings brand, and compensation was paid to the victims' families. But for those who lost loved ones, the impact of the tragedy could never truly be repaired.